Hey everyone, it's the Lerms, and welcome to another Notre Dame pregame primer. This time we are up against North Carolina State. They are the Wolfpack. So they come in at 3-1, and we are, of course, at 2-3. This should be a pretty interesting matchup. It's going to be on Saturday at 9 a.m. Pacific time, 12 o'clock Eastern time. So again, another early game, and unfortunately, on the Pacific Coast, it's really early for a football game. I was hoping to kind of include some videos from our local Notre Dame chapter in my videos because we usually have game watches for these games, but if it's at 9 in the morning, there's not really any places open that serve food and have games on that are open at 9 a.m. Usually places open at like 11, like bars and things like that. So unfortunately, I can't do it for this episode. Maybe for the next game after this, I'll be able to include some footage there because I'd really like to show some local enthusiasm as well because we are a pretty passionate group too when it comes to Notre Dame football. But anyway, so Notre Dame versus North Carolina State. This is actually the second meeting ever between the two. The other was during a bowl game in 2002. It was during the Gator Bowl, and actually Phillip Rivers was the quarterback for that game and for that time. So only two meetings, or only one meeting before this, and this will be the second meeting. So not much history between the two, but just to give a little background for North Carolina State, they do have a high-flying offense. They average more yards than we do, which is saying something. They actually played Wake Forest in a previous week, and Wake Forest has a pretty stout defense. They are ranked 12th against the run and 20th in scoring defense, and they got absolutely shredded for 527 yards. Right now, North Carolina State is averaging 505 yards overall with 297 passing and 208 rushing yards. So it's a pretty balanced offense. They can hit you from the air and they can run it down into you as well. That compares to Notre Dame stats of 495.4 yards per game with about 328 yards passing and 168 yards rushing. So we're a little more heavy on the passing from Deshaun Kaiser, but we still do have a running threat. So, in all intents and purposes, our offense is pretty even. They might have just a little more balance, which might give us some issues. We'll have to see. In terms of the defensive side of the ball, North Carolina State definitely has a better defense than we do. They are averaging 322 yards allowed per game, with 222 allowed in passing yards and 99 in rushing yards. Compared to ours, which is 461 yards allowed each game, 275 passing, and 186 yards rushing. So, obviously a big difference there. We know that we've been struggling for the past few weeks. A couple weeks ago we fired our defensive coach, Van Gorder, and we've replaced him with Greg Hudson, who during the first half of the Syracuse game, it didn't look like we had anything that was different. We were just absolutely being blasted. There was still tackling issues, albeit it was a little better in tackling. But I think what really gives me hope for the future is the second half of that Syracuse game. We actually limited them to only 7 points. And it it was a better effort, I think, as a team. I think the team was fired up. You could see from just the demeanor of Hudson on the sideline that he was really trying to fire up his kids. He chest bumped somebody on one of the plays where we made a stop, and so it's energy like this that we need, and it's energy that will translate to our boys playing harder and having more success. So I'm hopeful that our defense will do a little better, um, but we'll just have to see. So kind of getting to the comparison of the two, we've gone through the stats. I think some of the key points that Notre Dame needs to hit in order to win is, first of all, our defense needs to continue its success, right? The second half of Syracuse, we did a really great job, and limiting them to 7 points, that's fantastic. Syracuse is a high flying offense, and we made adjustments and kind of took them out of their element. So we need to keep doing that. We also recorded our second sack, so we need to keep getting better and putting more pressure on the quarterback so they don't have as much time to throw the ball and complete passes and all of that stuff. So that's one key aspect. The second is always Deshaun Kaiser. You could see from the last game that he took the blame for a couple of the missed plays. He would pound his chest, right, and say, "Oh yeah, that's on me," and that's kind of a sign of maturity, right? Because he knows, he did something wrong, and he's going to work to improve it. He had a lot of yards last game. I think it was something like 471 yards or some odd number like that. And those are great stats, but there were still opportunities that he did miss, and he probably could have totaled even more than 500 yards if he would have capitalized on all of the opportunities. But, for the year, he has 1,500 plus yards and 14 touchdowns and only 4 interceptions, which is pretty good. If we can just limit those turnovers and limit the interceptions, that would be good. I think that's kind of the second key to the game. And I think the third key to the game is just being prepared and being disciplined and having fun. I think we saw that in the last game. I think our guys were a little more free to kind of play the game, and the schemes seemed to be a little less complicated so that they were more able to focus on just tackling and that sort of thing. So you saw better tackling, at least during the game, or at least I thought there was better tackling, especially in the second half. So can we do that again? Can we prevent penalties? There was a lot of offsides calls, so we need to be disciplined there. Look at the ball instead of people or listening to claps from the quarterback. You got to look at the ball when it's snapped, then you move. And then, also on special teams, will we be able to shut down long runs, make sure we don't make mistakes there, and can we generate points from special teams plays? I mean, there's been 2 games where we've blocked point after touchdowns and brought it back for a safety. So those are great opportunities. We've had a couple of kickoff returns for big yardages and for touchdowns, and can we continue doing that? So I think those are kind of 3 areas that I think if we can get control of and really do well in, we stand a good chance to defeat North Carolina State. I think they come in as small underdogs, maybe like 2 or 3 points. I don't know if the line has moved since I last looked, but I'm hoping for a better performance. I want to continuously see our guys grow through the year. And I think they can do that. I think we've got the things in place that we need. I think our offense is solid. And as long as we have a defense that can make some stops, that will put a lot less pressure on the offense to perform. because that's where we start making mistakes. So um, I'm looking for Notre Dame to get a win in this game. I'm probably going to say this is going to be another somewhat high scoring game. I would probably say Notre Dame 38, North Carolina State 28. I think that's about fair. I think we have a little more firepower, um, and I think our defense will struggle a little bit, but maybe they'll take control in the second half like they did in the Syracuse game. So that's my prediction and my thoughts on the game. I hope you enjoyed hearing a little bit about North Carolina State. I know that I knew nothing about them when I first started looking up stats and stuff. So it's good to kind of know our opponent and see what we're going to be up against. So I'm hoping this has been helpful, entertaining. Maybe you guys just love seeing my face. That'd be kind of cool too. But let's hope for an Irish win this weekend, and hope that I can give a good game recap afterwards for an Irish win. So thanks for watching, and I hope you guys have a fantastic day. And as always, go Irish.